Hey y'all, Johnny K here. Welcome to episode 6 of How to Build a Rockery with Johnny K. It's an exciting day for me because we're finally going to start to plant some plants in the new rockery. It's been a busy summer, so I'm a little behind. Had my first young bird pigeon race this weekend, so I've been getting those birds ready. Um, and I'm really behind on this rockery project, but hopefully going to get this ironed out. It's mid-August, so really behind on the plantings because with xeriscaping plants, especially succulents, you want to try and give like 90 days before a harsh winter. And in Minnesota, it could snow next month. We don't know. But so I really like to get these, especially the cacti in the ground and the succulents and the really drought tolerant plants. Um, this video might be a little choppy because I'm going to take off and do some painting after I plant a few plants, but I just want to explain the process of how I decide where to put the plants. So I'll show you over here. Okay, you can see where I left off. I didn't get super far on this mulch project down here. I did dig it out deeper, so I shouldn't have any weeds. And to be honest, at this stage it doesn't look great because you got the mulch down here, and then all this soil in between the rocks is clay that was left over when they dropped off the rocks just on the tarp. It's horrible stuff to grow in because it's rock hard. But I filled the gaps with those, and not many weeds will like that either. Um, but it's very contrasting, the dark black mulch. But don't worry about that because it will. You can already see these leaves and this debris kind of building up in there, and then it will kind of get less black and blend in very well. Yesterday I did go and buy some plastic edging that I am gonna um, put in here to try and you can see some of the erosion is happening. Once I have this mulch filled up here, it's not going to be a problem, but figure might as well make it so it holds the longest. Just cicada exoskeleton. But anyway, this is what the new rockery is looking like from the street. I got some driftwood and my hand railing. So you can see lots of planting crevices. Really excited to plant this up. Alright, I'm going to save you a lot of time from the beginning, which I should have done this from the beginning, but I kind of did it after the fact. But on planting day, before planting day actually, start making a list of what plants you're going to plant. So this one here, what I've got here, corresponds to this portion here. So to do it after the fact can be kind of hard because there's so many cultivar names. I think there was 16 cultivars of cacti in this little mound right here. Not even the whole garden, just this little mound. And you have to dig through records and everything to try and find that. So what I did here is I started to prepare the new rockery. This is just the one of the little bogs, but let me see here. If I can turn a page today. So this is the new side, just a rough sketch of all the rocks I have here in the railing. From the front view, since there's so many planting spaces, it's going to take up multiple pages to really document this. So yeah, so I'm going to keep working on it as I plant. This is a top view here with the driftwood. So you can see these two driftwood here kind of correspond to here. And then I tried to get every rock and boulder you can as a place mark, so when I plant I can mark off what I planted there. Um, really, really important on planting day if you want a record of what you planted. Really, I don't care too much about cultivar names, and I'm not a great notes keeper or records keeper, but it is very nice to know which ones did well, and if you're sharing or trading them, then um, you know what you got. So, all right, if you've been following my other videos, I talk a lot about contrast when planting. Um, so here I have an Apucha with a purple pad, Al Parker, that I propagated, and I mean it's just pure gorgeous Apucha. Um, but when I talk about contrasting plant, this allium kind of has a, a bluish tinge to it, and all alliums are in the onion and garlic type plants. My friend gifted me this Jim Stir. He's in my pigeon club. Um, Real nice one with it might be Blue Eddy, or I think they call it. But that probably gets not much higher than this, maybe about this high. And you always want to try and put the larger plants in the back. This one technically grows, this puncha technically will grow taller than that, but in Minnesota here they really don't get very tall. They'll fall over the rocks here and will appear lower than that allium, even though technically it does get higher. This plant here is just a volunteer of mullein because I use it medicinally, smoking and um, drinking it for respiratory health. It's invasive here. It's from Europe, but it is really useful medicinally. But I'll pull that plant out, just seeded there. I might not get a chance to do this correctly, but normally just because I'm short for time today, but normally I'll set all these plants out where I want them before I start planting. So I may get that on video or I may not. But I think that's going to be really nice there, even in this shot here, at least through the camera. But it's looking pretty natural to me, the way these rocks are set up. If you remember, I talked a lot about rockery looking natural. There you go. All right, I think I did a YouTube short video on this, but and where I was talking about finding plants that are with character. This euphorbia is just absolutely sweet. Fits perfect here. Almost looks like a bonsai or um, like something from South Africa or something like that. But it's going to fit in with this driftwood real nice, and kind of this xeriscaped drought tolerant plants. So if you missed that short, go back and check it out. But really all I talked about was how sometimes you want a very lush, most healthy plant. But if you really want to age your garden and make it look really unique and cool, you can tell that this plant has struggled a bit in its life. It's supposed to be a lot more full than this. This is a euphorbia, by the way, cushion spurge or euphorbia polychroma. But I just, there's a plane going overhead, obviously. But I just enjoyed how how much this plant looks like it has struggled and has been naturally weathered, which in the rockery, in the wild, all plants are going to be really weathered, and that's the reason why they're stunted and dwarfed. And but some very cushiony plants look very good, especially in between, crevices as well. So I'll definitely use both. But this euphorbia, I think, is going to look cool someplace like that, next to this piece of driftwood. Kind of like maybe that was an old euphorbia. It'll kind of give that idea, even though that's just a small piece of driftwood that came with these rocks. All right, speaking of cushiony, lush plants that you want, this is a great one. This is a dianthus. If you know, if you're a gardener, you probably know that already by the flowers. But this is Kahori, I believe it's called, the cultivar name. Yep, Kahori Scarlet. It's a real low-growing dianthus. Um, gonna probably dianthus do great in crevices. Gonna plant it maybe here, maybe somewhere it can spread a little more. But I really like how tight this foliage is, how full it is. Um, it stays very short. Um, well, I don't know. This is 12 to 14 inches, but I don't think it actually gets that high because I believe I have one on the other side of the garden. Sorry, balancing on rocks here. I think this might be a Kahori, and it's a profuse bloomer for me, and will rebloom. You can see some more blooms, but it will sparsely rebloom the entire summer. But in the spring it will be very lush with a bright pink bloom and almost just looks like grass. So you can tell I haven't even weeded this garden this year. I mean, there's no weeds, but there's a lot of maple seeds and stuff like that. But I believe it might be like this one. That's what I'm hoping for at least. I'll have to check that online if that Kahori stays that small. All right, this is another plant that has been maybe not how it's intended to look. It's supposed to be a lot more fuller than this. This is Juniper Prince of Wales. There's a lot of exposed bark here, but I think right here, hanging over this rock, is going to just be phenomenal for this one. One thing's about any tree or shrub, like I said earlier in this video, you really want to get them in early, or a lot of times for shrubs, because they need so much water, or trees, in the fall is better. Either way, just you got to water them a lot, because anything with a woody stem like this, you really need a lot of water to get them settled in. So yeah, this is another cool plant. All right, this is a Puncha facantha that I propagated. A friend in Pennsylvania, Rick, gave me this one, originally a number of years ago. So I'll show you where it is over here. So that's this guy here. Let me get over there without getting pricked by one of these cacti. So this is probably the tallest one, but this is usually how things grow in Minnesota. This one has done extremely well, actually. But all these pads will deflate and lay down, so that's something to plan for when planting cacti. You can see I have some cacti here, so last year I put a stick over them so these pads didn't lay on that and cause rot from moisture. So you can see kind of the habit of this, how it's going to grow over here. You know, it's going to grow over those rocks, keep falling with upright pads. So if we go back over here, try and look at that habit and see where you want to plant it. So since I know it's going to go over the rocks, it's going to cover right in front of this driftwood. It's going to come down here and be upright but fall in the winter. So I don't have to plant a lot of plants down here, because this one, once it grows bigger, is going to fall over it. So that's something to think about when you're planting. I think some place like that might be a good spot for that. And that has nice big fuchsia flowers in early June. All right, this is a cholla cactus. Tried one number of years ago and I got it to survive one winter. So I'm just going to try this again. We'll see if, and we're Minnesota Zone 4B. Squirrels got trash. I live next to a drug house and there's just trash everywhere. But anyway, So I think this would be a great place to plant it next to this piece of driftwood, just in case I need to somehow stabilize it. But I think it'd look really good there. Stabilize it with this driftwood. So I'm going to, here, this spot right here would provide really sharp drainage as well, which I think is going to be really important for getting this to survive. But the real problem with sholas here, or any plant really, especially succulents, is if we get cold without snow. So this thing can grow pretty tall. And if we don't get snow that covers that, that's when the top part really dies. So that's why some of the taller xeric plants struggle here. If there's snow cover, usually it's fine. But this will provide super sharp drainage. I do expect it to kind of deflate and maybe fall over in the winter. But that's why a place like this would really be great. It's not a big planting space, so I'm not going to have a ton of other plants around it for it to fall on. All right, this is another one that Rich gifted me, Puncha rudolens, and he gifted me a number of years ago, and I propagated it. It's got a really cool habit. It's a little thinner pads to it. Let me show you. Sorry for the moving camera. Close your eyes for a second. But it is this guy right here. Only problem is over here is when I first started this garden, I made the mistake of planting chives. I got to cut these seed heads, but I didn't. It's pretty new to flower gardens. I was more vegetable before that, and I didn't know how spready they were. So there's a lot of chives mixed in there that I got to figure out how to pull without getting these little glochids on me. But this habit of this plant is really cool. I think it's going to be kind of like a stunning display when it's in the new rockery. Yeah, I don't know if this brown is corking or if it's fungal disease, but I don't treat my rockery. I don't do anything to it. If something dies, it dies. I ain't gonna baby it. Which some people might not like to hear, but so you could see the habit of that one. And if you could imagine this one coming down through the cracks like that and hanging over, I think a place like this would be a really great place for this plant. It has nice fuchsia flowers as well, but I don't even think they last a day. And they open and close fairly fast, so not really growing it for the flowers, even though it is an awesome cactus. More growing it for the growth habit. I had 3 birds out of 31 that didn't come back yesterday for their first race, so that guy just came back this morning, clocked in there. But racing pigeons are a fun hobby, especially for gardeners, because you can work on the garden or rockery and wait for your birds to come back. All right, some of these bigger one thing about rockeries is you will see insects, especially native insects that you've never seen in anyone else's gardens before. So many insects prefer rocks as places to hide and burrow and nest, so it's pretty cool. I think this, I don't know if that's a trapdoor spider hole or something put a pretty big hole in there. We have cicada killer wasps, which are about the size of a hummingbird, which make pretty big holes too. Anyway, sorry, it's not in focus. For these flatter areas up here with a lot of soil, like these areas, I really like to plant ball type cacti. So this Escobaria vivipara, which is one of the largest specimens I've seen, so I'm hoping it survives. A lot of times, if they're very fleshy, things don't survive. So this is one of my favorite new cacti. I do have Escobaria vivipara, but not from this locale and not this big. But this would be a great place to plant it, really showcase it against the rock, that limestone rock behind it. And this clay that was dropped off with the rocks from, it's probably just class 5 and other poor quality soil that they had at the rock yard, is really gonna prevent some weed growth around it. And I will add some more rocks on top of this. But I'm going to plant up these flatter areas in the same way I planted up the flatter areas on this side, which is kind of correct for where they come from. You know, the smaller cacti are pressured from the elevations, the winds, so they don't want to grow tall. So if there's a big flat area at high elevation, you're going to get a lot more ball cacti. It's like a kind of serious Triglochidiatus, spineless version, Cainocereus yavapensis, I believe. No, start with an R. I'd have to look at that book, see what that one is. But some cool cacti here. That one that goes down right there, Escobaria missouriensis. Yeah. So I want to plant up the other side like I did this side with the ball cacti in the flatter areas. All right, just from those few plants being set out, it looks pretty cool in my opinion. And maybe if you're watching, maybe in your opinion, it's going to look cool too. But maybe it looks ugly to some people, who knows. Anyway, just one other thing to think about is bright plants in dark places, right? So when you're, I should say this is a north-facing garden, but it gets full sun, besides up front here, because the sun, goes that way. So anything, when the sun's shining, anything on this side is going to be shaded most of the time. So where that miniature hosta, this is one of my new favorites. That one, you can't see it from here, but it's a real miniature. It gets like 3 inches tall. It's Cameo, I believe, is the name. But it's not going to get much light here at all, and will really brighten up this dark area. And hostas are pretty dang hard to kill. I think that's why a lot of people like them, including me. Kind of like succulents, but are more for shade. So even taking a step back and looking, that just sticks out. So I was thinking about doing some variegated hostas down there, and some Japanese forest grass, things like that. The golden variety that will brighten it up down here, even though it's getting a lot of shade. Looking pretty cool though. It's probably where I got to run and help my siblings paint real quick. But I will be filling all these up with plants. And just one thing I wanted to say is I purposely will put a rock like this flat instead of standing it up a lot of times, because this is great for opuntia cacti. Like I said, they deflate in the winter, so they're going to lay flat. So if I plant a cacti here, it's going to lay flat over this big rock. over the winter. It won't start rotting because all the water is going to run away from it. And then in spring, that taproot is going to start to suck up water again. And depending on the cultivar or species, they'll start to stand back up again. But places like that, I'm going to do a funcha. Places like this are perfect for hens and chicks and ants, evidently. A bunch of ants there. But actually, let me grab a couple of hens and chicks. One I bought, one I propagated. All right, does this thing not glow? Big shout out to Chris Hansen, Chick Charms. This gold nugget, probably my favorite sempervivum or hen and chicks. It just glows. I mean, it's just gorgeous. That'd be a good spot for it. As long as no snakes living under there. We don't really got poisonous snakes in Minnesota, besides a timber rattler in the St. Croix Valley. So I'm not too worried about anything here besides bugs. And then this is one I propagate myself. Don't mind all this purslane. The most eaten green in the world is purslane, so it's edible, but those are just sprouts. But this is a really small guy I propagated. I've got 1 billion sempervivums, so there's no way I know the cultivar names of most of these unless it really stands out like the gold nugget. But that'd be a good spot in this small crevice to plant a smaller sempervivum. And down here a big one. And the nice thing is, once in a while you'll find, when I bought this early summer. It didn't have all these chicks, but it had 2 big heads on there. It's pretty much you're saving your money if you have one with 2 heads on it. Because I can split these, put one of them there, and then one of them over here or wherever I want to put them. And this rock's kind of crazy. There's kind of some kind of red crystal in there. Maybe I'll be rich one day off this rock. That's my dream. Then I can just make rockeries all the time. Alright, but that's the sempervivums. Okay, I'm going to go help my siblings paint, so this might be the last clip of the day. I'll come back and plant these. I'll definitely not leave them out here, otherwise they'll get stolen in my neighborhood. But just give you a quick overview of what some of these look like, where they're going to go. And I have a whole lot more I've been propagating all summer. Hey, look at that goldfinch. American goldfinch on that rhododendron. Not sure if you can see it. But they visit my stream. I'm just kind of hiding behind the branch. Let's see if it'll... Its mate's over there with it. And I got my stream over there. It's about 25, 30 feet. And a ton of wild birds come and visit it. As well as bees. As well as that squirrel hiding in there. You're probably going to mess something up with mine. Unplant something. Little bastard. Anyway. Yeah. Cool stuff. This is what it looks like. And next video clip I should have some of this planted. Might be episode 7. Because I wanted to show you. I already showed you the mix I made. But I want to show you how I plant it. How I plant these things.